Welcome to week 1 of our course. As you get started, I wanted to take a few minutes and give a brief introduction to the unit and talk a little bit about the assignment. This week, we will explore an overview of the issues surrounding the transformation that's going on in healthcare today as we move from a volume-based system to a value-based system. You may have been talking about this already in some of your other courses. It's very critical to us in this course as we start looking at how analytics plays into this. So this information for this week will provide a basis for all of our discussions for the rest of the class. So this week we'll set the stage and begin to take a look at how we got here. We'll give you an overview of the factors involved, and we'll begin to see how analytics is playing a major role in addressing these problems. Since I first taught this course in 2013, much has changed in the healthcare world as we continue to move away from the volume-based system that's focused on things like number of clinic visits or number of procedures or days in the hospital, and move towards a system that is more based on value. One of the positive things that has come out of these changes is that we, both as professionals and as consumers, are all more acutely aware of the problems that we're facing, such as the high costs and the need to improve quality and patient outcomes. So I think we've all developed quite a bit more health literacy in this area. We've also come a long way in realizing and accepting that analytics will help us to be successful as we move into these value-based approaches. In fact, you really cannot do value-based healthcare without using analytics. Our discussions this week will illuminate the issues we continue to have in healthcare despite passing the Affordable Care Act and other changes that have happened in the healthcare system. Have we really made any progress toward our goals over the last few years? How does the U.S. health system compare with other countries in terms of having a value-based system? What data can we find to answer these questions, and how can this data be interpreted? It's important to clearly understand the issues we face and how analytics can be used as a tool to address them. Using analytics to address cost and quality involves much more than simply analyzing data. In fact, data analysis is really only the starting point. So we want you to become comfortable with some of the ways analytics is being used and to think about what it will take for organizations to build analytic capabilities further. Based on news about business intelligence, predictive analytics, and machine learning, anyone might think that everyone in healthcare is advanced in their development of analytic capabilities, but this is not the case. There are actually a wide variation between organizations and even within organizations in terms of analytic literacy and capabilities. As a part of your DQ response this week, we will present some data. You will present some data and give us your interpretation of it. For analytics to make an impact, the interpretation of data must be communicated effectively. We're looking for you to interpret and communicate about the data. As you prepare your DQ, think about whether there could be more than one interpretation. In discussion, you can compare and contrast different interpretations of the same data. Groups also may find more than one source of data answering the same question and presenting a different interpretation. By the end of this week, I want you to be able to discuss the issues related to healthcare costs in a volume-based system and how we're still dealing with these. I want you to describe how accountable care is envisioned to work for healthcare organizations and providers and patients. I want you to be able to articulate the strategies needed to move forward in value-based care and patient-focused care. And I want you to be able to interpret and present data describing the impact of healthcare reforms. Okay, a word about some of your readings for this week. The Berwick and Fisher articles will give you a good sense of where we started. It's been a number of years since those articles were written, so to think back a little bit, and this gives you the idea of what we're talking about with triple aim goals and the concept of accountable care organizations, and these articles originated those concepts. So accountable care organizations were introduced with the Affordable Care Act and were meant to be a part of the vehicle or structure for moving into a value-based system. Some of the articles I provided you give you a sense of where we are now. So comparing and contrasting these articles will give you a good sense of where we've made progress and where we're still facing the same challenges even all these many years later. A summary question for you to think about as your discussion concludes this week is, what does all of this tell us if we have data and yet it is not having the impact we would like it to have in terms of our ability to provide accountable care? The Time magazine article titled Bitter Pill presents some of the specific issues related to cost of healthcare. Every day I read a story about some outrageous thing that's happened to somebody in terms of their health care. Probably many of you have too. This article spells it out in depth, and we get a good view into some of the things behind these problems. When we think of healthcare becoming data-driven and using analytics to become value-based, it's impossible to ignore the cost of healthcare. If anything, I think we're seeing some areas of healthcare only becoming higher cost. Insurance coverage and medication are prime examples of this. These costs have skyrocketed even since 2013 when I first started teaching this course. So it's a fundamental question to keep in mind for the rest of this course. Is it even possible to have a good patient experience if costs are out of control? Can we think about analytics in healthcare without including overall cost? If the patient was cured, but the cost bankrupted him, can we say the patient got good value? What does that say about the patient experience? A recent article by Commonwealth reported that Americans' confidence in their ability to afford health care continues to decline. In 2018, 62% of working age adults say they were very or somewhat confident they could afford their health care if they became seriously ill. This is down from 70% in 2015. Nearly half of all the respondents to the Commonwealth survey said they wouldn't be able to cover a $1,000 surprise medical bill within 30 days. This is a staggering fact, and all the efforts to improve quality in other areas and engage patients will have little impact if we're not able to address cost. This week we will get everyone thinking and begin exploring all of these questions.